Okay, I want to add these two rational expressions together. On the left, I have x squared plus 3x divided by x squared minus 4x minus 21. And I want to add that to the rational expression on the right, 5 over x minus 7. The first thing that I need to do if I'm going to add these two rational expressions together, just like with fractions, I need a common denominator. In order to determine what my common denominator is, I am going to need to factor the denominator of the first rational expression so that I know which factors I already have there, and then I will use that to build my common denominator. So I'm going to do that over here underneath where it says common denominator. I'm going to factor x squared minus 4x minus 21. So when I go to factor that, I'm going to use my area model. So I have x squared and negative 21. I need two numbers that when I multiply them together, I get the product of a times c, so negative 21x squared. But when I add them together, I get my b term, and my b term is negative 4x. So I'm going to write down all of the things that I know of that multiply to give me 21. Well, I know that 21 and 1 will multiply to give me 21. I know that 3 and 7 will multiply to give me 21. Since my b term is a negative number, I know that the bigger number in each pair here has to be negative, so I know that 21 would have to be a negative 21 and the 7 would have to be a negative 7. So let me check to make sure that actually, those both give me negative 21. So negative 21 times 1 gives me negative 21, and 3 times negative 7, that also gives me negative 21. Now, which one of these pairs of numbers is going to add to give me negative 4? If I add negative 21 and a positive 1, I get negative 20, and that is not going to work. But if I add 3 and negative 7, I get negative 4, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So I have 3x and negative 7x, because remember those two numbers had to add to give me negative 4x. All right, so this is going to factor to be x plus 3 and x minus 7. So I can rewrite that first expression to be x squared plus 3x over x minus 7, x plus 3, plus 5 over x minus 7. All right, so looking at it now, things that they both have in common, they both have an x minus 7. So that's going to be part of my common denominator. And then the first denominator also has an x plus 3. And so I'm going to need to include that in my common denominator. So in order to add these two rational expressions together, I'm going to need to multiply the second fraction, numerator and denominator, by x plus 3. And I'm going to put parentheses around that x minus 7 there. Okay. And now I have my common denominator. I have x minus 7, x plus 3 down on the bottom. I'm going to be able to add my two numerators together. So the first numerator was x squared plus 3x. I'm going to add that to 5 times x plus 3. I need to distribute the 5, and then I will combine my like terms. So I have x squared plus 3x plus 5x plus 15 in my numerator. And I'm going to recopy my denominator down here. And then I combine my like terms. I see I have 3x and 5x that can combine. And so that would give me x squared plus 8x plus 15 over x minus 7 times x plus 3. I can't stop here though, because this might simplify further. And so now I need to see if that numerator is going to factor at all. And if the numerator factors, and either of those factors are exactly the same as one of the two factors that I have in my denominator, then this rational expression is going to reduce. So I'm going to look just at the numerator right now, and I'm going to see if I can get that numerator to factor. So I have x squared here and a positive 15 here. I need two numbers that when I multiply them together, I get the product of a times c. So that would give me 15x squared. When I add them together, though, I get b, which is 8x. So things that I know that will multiply to give me 15. I know 1 and 15. I know 3 and 5. I don't need to worry about negatives on this because both my product, a times c, is a positive number, and b is also a positive number, so that I know my two numbers that I'm looking for have to both be positive numbers. Well, if I add 1 and 15 together, I get 16, and I was looking for 8. So those aren't my two numbers. But 3 plus 5 is 8, and that is what I was looking for. So this does factor. I have 3x and 5x as these two missing pieces here. So this would factor to be x plus 3 and x plus 5. So I'm going to rewrite that numerator. I have x plus 3 times x plus 5 all over x minus 7 times x plus 3. And if you guys are paying attention here at this point, then you should see that I have an x plus 3 in my denominator, and I also have an x plus 3 in my numerator. And so this is going to reduce. The x plus 3 and x plus 3 are going to cancel out, and my final fully reduced answer is x plus 5 over x minus 7.